The old wooden house stood silent, save for the rhythmic tick-tock of a grandfather clock in the hallway. Inside, Mrs. Chen, her face etched with the map of a life well lived, sat by the window, watching the late afternoon sun paint the sky in hues of orange and purple. Her son, Jian, was late again. It hadn't cold. A familiar ache settled in her chest, a weight she'd carried for years, a weight that seemed to grow heavier with each passing day. John, her only child, was a successful businessman, always busy, always chasing the next promotion, the next deal. He rarely visited, his calls infrequent, his excuses always the same. Too busy, Ma. Next week, I promise. Next week never came. She sighed, a sound as quiet as falling leaves. She picked up a worn photograph, her fingers tracing the outline of a younger Jian, his face beaming, his hand clasped in hers. Memories flooded back, the sleepless nights, the endless worries, the sacrifices she'd made, all for him. She remembered the times he'd hurt his knee falling from his bike, the anxiety she'd felt when he was sick with the flu, the joy she felt watching him graduate. Those memories were precious, but now, seeing her son so distant, felt like a betrayal of all she'd done. The house felt empty, echoing with the absence of his laughter, the silence punctuated only by the ticking clock, a relentless reminder of time slipping away. A tear rolled down her cheek, tracing a path through the wrinkles around her eyes. She wasn't asking for much, just a little of his time, a little of his presence, a little of his love. She longed to hear his voice, to feel his hand in hers, to share a simple meal together. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of deep blue and violet. Darkness settled over the house, the silence growing deeper. Suddenly, a car pulled up outside. Jian stepped out, his face etched with exhaustion, his eyes filled with remorse. He rushed in, his arms wrapping around his mother in a tight embrace. "Ma," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I've been a fool." He stayed that night, talking until the early hours of the morning. He listened to her stories. He shared his anxieties. And for the first time in a long time, the house was filled with warmth, with laughter, with the simple comfort of a mother's love and a son's remorse. As Jian drove away the next morning, he looked back at the house, a profound understanding dawning in his eyes. He knew he couldn't turn back time, but he could make the present count. He would make sure that next week, and the week after, and every week after that, he would be there for his mother and for himself. He understood now the true meaning of wealth, the true meaning of home. It wasn't a grand